Hello. In this tutorial we're going to see a little bit about layers. So the whole magic about working with digital illustration is to be able to be working with layers. Layers is not just a possibility of having a safety net, but as well the chance to be trying things out that it would be impossible to do on a piece of paper. We're going to be starting really from the very basic. The first moment is just to start understanding what we have here, what is layer, and how to be working with it. So we have on the right side of our window layers, and always together with layers we have channels. Together they work with things we see and things we do not see, and we're starting with things we can see. So in Painter we have the first layer, which always opens when we start a file. This is called in German Arbeitsfläche. And the only thing that you can do with this layer is make it visible or invisible. And everything that is invisible in Painter appears with this kind of gray and white square net. So I'll just make it visible because it hurts my eyes to be looking at it. This first layer is really important if you're doing like paper texture or if you're working with a few new brushes and so on. So it's very important, but if you're just illustrating, you're just doing an image, I would really avoid working on it because it always comes with this white background. So you cannot really work transparency on it. We're always going to be starting a new layer, and we can see here when I start a new layer I have again this gray and white information. It means that everything that is inside of this layer for the moment is transparent, so there is no paint information in there. I'm going to open 3 different layers and I'm double clicking it, and we get informations about the layer, and I'm just saying like circle, square, triangle. So we have now this. It didn't come in here. If it does not work, you can just double click on the layer and change it straight in there. Now we have the information in here, and I really recommend you guys to open the new layer, put a name on it, because depending on which kind of software you may be opening this image again, you can get insane to find out in which layer every information is. So always put a name on it. Like for example, if I'm working on one single maybe figure, I would just say the first one is scribble, the second one is color, the third one is lights, the next one is maybe shadows, so that you have information about the context of it, like how you build up the image. Or if, for example, you have a very complex image with background and different figures on it, I would just name it by the name of the figures, so that you can just really have an organization on this structure. It's really important for you not to get lost, because we usually work with a lot of layers. It's rare for you to have an image with a little amount of layers. Okay, so starting with a circle, I'm just going to be painting a circle up here, selecting the brush. First one, we do a square on the next one, and the third one, there you go, yellow, the triangle. Okay, so to be working with the selections and the layers, I'm going to be able to do it straight on the layer window, like changing the order of the layers. Or I could change this up here. So I can go the whole way down or in steps up and down. Okay, so these are 2 options that I can do. Usually I always work up here because it's visible, it's easier to understand what's going on. Be aware as well, like for example, if I have an extra layer, just put it really underneath them all, and I have an extra color, I just grab some pink. I have a brush selected, I have the layer underneath all the other layers selected, and I start painting, and my brush does not bring any color. This is because the order of the layers is very important. So if I have a smaller image that is underneath all the other images, I have to remember to check it out if maybe the order of the layers is not working. It's a little bit like a sandwich. Like if you have bread, if you have meat, you have a tomato and some lettuce on top of it, you're not going to see the tomato anymore because it's underneath the whole stuff. So just remember that sometimes the brush is not working, and this could be why it's not working. So I'll just select the whole thing from this layer, and I can delete a few informations like that, or I can just grab the layer and click on the trash bin, or I can just select the first layer and hold the shift key, select all the layers together then, and press the trash bin, and like this throw everything away. So I'm opening a new layer, and we're going to see another option to be working with Painter. So I'm just going to go for a few colors. I tend always to be using too bright colors to do my tutorials, and I'll just grab something different here. And I have the option to be working with some smeary kind of brushes that kind of uses the color that exists there already and mix them together. So I'm just going to grab, for example, Vision number 2. I'll increase the size of it by pressing Option Command, and we can see that if I start smearing around here, it gives you a very nice result, but my layer is changed. So if I would like to keep the layer the way it is and smear it at the same time, I'm, for example, opening a new layer. If I would try this up here right now, you can see that there is no paint information in this layer, and it's not going to be working. So for it to work, it's important to select Pick Up Underlying Color. Symbol up here is the one with the eyedropper, and now I would be able to be using my smeary brush, and if I just make this layer invisible, I did not destroy anything which is underneath it. So this is as well a kind of safety net that you can use and work at the same time with the background color. You would just be able to do this if you would have this background color working straight on the area or on the layer where the color is on. You can see as well that the smearing grabs the color which is underneath it, the white background color. So be aware that if you're working with anything that is quite transparent and you work like this, you have maybe the problem that you're going to have some white information around it, and if you change the color from the background to another color, I'm just going to do this quite fast just for you to understand what I'm talking about, and I'll just make it visible. If you print afterwards an image on a t-shirt and you used Pick Up Underlying Color, you're going to have a very ugly white information around it. So be aware of using this. Maybe it's not really what you want, and the only way to avoid it would be really to be working straight on the layer you were working on. Turn off Pick Up Underlying Color. I'm just going to select it all and put this strange color on top of it again. So I turned it off, and at the moment I start smearing it up here, I don't have this very ugly white surrounding on it. Okay, so these are very important informations that if you're working with a colorful background on whatever you're going to be printing your illustration, it's good to remember. And at the same time, if you would like to be working with a safety net and an extra layer, it's really good to be working with this Pick Up Underlying Color information. We're going to talk to each other on the next tutorial.